أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to ITVusa's Ramadan series, Raising Our Children Right. My name is Dr. Suzy Ismail from Cornerstone, and I'm happy to be with you on this journey as we go through the stages of tarbiyah and learn a little bit more about how we can raise our children in a way that is most pleasing to Allah so that they may grow to seek the pleasure of Allah. Now, in the first 10 days of Ramadan, we talked about the first stage of tarbiyah, which was between the ages of 0 to 7. And we talked about how this was a stage where the tarbiyah of our children focuses really on cementing safety and security for them. And it's a stage in which our children look to us as their parents, as role models, as those who they will emulate and they will imitate. Then we started talking about the second stage of tarbiyah, which is the stage between the ages of 8 to 14. And in this stage, we know that this is the age of discipline, which means it's the age in which our children need boundaries. It's the age in which our children need to hear no. Even as they rail and rebel against the word no actually will give them a sense of safety as long as we are able to tie it with the aspect of critical thinking that we spoke about in one of our earlier episodes. Meaning, it cannot be that everything our children bring to us is met with a response of haram, haram. Our children need to be able to talk to us about what they're feeling, what they are going through, what they're experiencing, without constantly having a fear of negative or harsh discipline. The discipline has to come from a place of love, not from a place of our own fear, not from a place of our own trauma, not from a place of our own baggage being reflected and projected onto our children. What does that mean? It means that when our children are struggling with something, creating a safe space for them. One of my favorite narrations of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes from a time when Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam sat with the Sahaba, and one of the youth of the Ummah had come to the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, I want to commit zina, I want to fornicate, I want to be physically intimate with someone outside of the sanctity of marriage. And initially, when the Sahaba heard this, they got very upset. They thought to themselves, how could this man come to the blessed Prophet of Allah and admit to wanting such a lowly desire, wanting to commit a sin? But the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in his compassion, in his wisdom, in his understanding of how to connect and how to help youth critically think about things, he, kind of pointed to the Sahaba and asked them to wait. And he responded to the young man, and he appealed to his reason and his rationale through critical thinking. So he did not say, Astaghfirullah, this is haram, as we as parents often respond. But instead, he asked him, would you want someone to do this to your sister? And the man said, no. He said, would you want someone to do this to your mother? He said, no. Would you want someone to do this to your future daughter? He said, no. Would you want someone to do this to your future wife? He said, no. And every time the man said no, he began to better understand, or the youth said no, he began to better understand how this could be personally relevant to him. So there was an appeal to the rationale, appeal to critical thinking. Then the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, well, the person you will do this to is somebody's daughter, is somebody's future wife, somebody's future mother, somebody's sister. And so the man began to recognize, or the youth began to recognize and comprehend why this would be detrimental. And then after appealing to the rationale and giving the explanation, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam put his hand on the heart of the young man, of the youth, and made a dua that Allah Azza wa Jal would remove this desire from his heart. When we discipline our children, when we guide them towards that which is right, we want to do so from a place of love and from a place of guiding them towards understanding. So the 10-year-old, the 11-year-old, the 12-year-old, that does something in school that they get in trouble for, rather than our immediate response being, Astaghfirullah, I can't believe you did this, you're not a good Muslim, this is haram, right? Instead of responding in that way, being able to understand where they're coming from and then being able to explain the better way. What is it that they have done or what is it that they have made a mistake in, that can be corrected. And when we approach discipline from this avenue, rather than being triggered by something our children do and then responding in a way that maybe our parents responded to us in, or that our grandparents responded in. We instead recognize and understand the unique situation and perspective that our children have, and being able to connect with them in that way. So I pray that Allah Azza wa Jal grants us all as parents the hikmah and the ilm and the aql to be able to respond to our children, particularly in times of crisis, in times of difficulty, to respond to them in a way where we are disciplining out of love, not out of fear, not out of anger. And I pray that Allah Azza wa Jal guides us all to raise our children right, so we may raise righteous children. I hope you'll join me every night of Ramadan as we continue this journey through the stages of tarbiyah. Jazakum Allahu khair. Wassalamu alaikum.